We got Dana White letting us know how he's going to be running the new promotional company that he is partnered alongside with Turkey Al-Sheikh called TKO. And if you're not familiar with who Dana White is, from my boxing fans that just don't really pay attention to the MMA world, Dana White is a marketing genius. He's a marketing genius, bro. One thing about Dana White is that he knows how to turn nothing into something, and he'll take an idea that people will completely destroy and turn that into one of the biggest things you'll ever see in national television. Well, now we're speaking about streaming, so in the streaming world, it's going to be that too, right? Now, the UFC, once upon a time before Dana White took control of it, was falling apart. They couldn't get on national television. They wasn't able to get sponsors. There was a lot of crazy mess going on. And they was trying to sell it because they couldn't handle it, right? Along comes Dana White, and he finds out about this. He contacts the Fajita brothers. You know what I'm saying? If I'm saying it right. If I'm not, excuse me. And he then sees if he could get a loan, or he convinces them to buy it out. That's what he does. He convinces them to buy it out. There was a little, spectacle about it. And he then convinced them, and they ended up buying it out. And, there was a lot of trouble along the way, trying to get in on national television, trying to get sponsorships, so on and so forth. But he made it work. And one of the key things was the Ultimate Fighter, right? That's a season where they get a bunch of fighters to compete against each other in a tournament. And that's how they kind of low-key figure out the rankings of how they're going to work things out. So keep that in mind, because that's going to make a lot of sense with how Dana White's going to be running this new promotion. So, after he gets control of the UFC, he takes it to a place that never went, that nobody ever believed it would go, right? Being that standard for MMA leagues, right? For MMA promotions. There was Pride, and he took a lot of fighters from Pride ended up going to the UFC, right? Then you got, there's other Bellators, there's, the One and all that. But UFC still to this day is that number one MMA promotion. So then there's another idea that comes up, right? He ends up doing the Contender Series. And then this is just it's like another version of the Ultimate Fighter. But just a little different, right? And then Power Slap comes along, right? Now, this is what I mean to tell you. When he first started with the UFC, everybody said that nobody should be. This is crazy. This is savage. Nobody wants to see people looking like they're about to kill each other in the octagon on national television. This is too much. But now, that's a high demand in the entertainment business, right? In sports entertainment, that's a high demand. Here comes along Power Slap. And he's starting to bring more hype to that now. And one of the things that he says is that, listen, when people say you shouldn't do that, or when they don't like it, or when they hate it, that's when I want to do it more. Because this is the same, feedback that I got when I first started UFC. Now, just fast forward a little bit, where he's in negotiations and agreement with Turkey Al-Sheikh, getting ready to announce their collaboration, their partnership, releasing a new promotional company called TKO. And, I seen this interview online, and it wasn't necessarily Dana White or nobody. I forgot what channel it was. And a guy that was on that channel was saying, I don't, like, he wasn't sure how successful this would be, because, UFC was the first, that took the shine because it was the first. And, with boxing, there's a history behind boxing. And I think people don't really do their full research or understand what's taking place right in front of their eyes. They're not connecting the dots. They're just seeing whatever happens, and they're taking that without connecting everything else together. There's something called the Ring Magazine that's also owned by Turkey Al-Sheikh. Now that he's partnered up with Dana White to take control of the boxing promotional side, called TKO, it's pretty evident that they're going to be using the Ring Magazine as the title for the TKO, where now fighters are going to have to be signed to the promotional company in order to compete for the lineal title, because we all know the Ring Magazine is considered the lineal title, which means the best fighting the best. So now that we know that he's in control, it's a pretty genius idea, and it's gonna force a lot of people that want to prove they're the best to come and sign up and be a part of the TKO promotions, and that's probably the only way they're gonna get that bag from Turkey ever again. But this time it's gonna come with a good deal. This time there's gonna be more ownership involved on their end, where they have someone like Dana White, who already made a league very successful, now taking control of the boxing side of it as well. Moving on, now getting to my point with how everything, all of this started, right? How he's going to be running the TKO. Now, he mentioned this, right? He said, everybody that has an O are going to be forced to fight each other. That's off the rip. So just keep that in mind, right? These fighters that's going to be a part of the TKO promotion and they have an O, they're going to have to go against other fighters that have an O. That's going to be a part of the process of the new rankings that's going to be taking place in TKO in order for them to compete for that lineal title, which is considered the title of the man that beats the man, right? The best that beat the best. So he also mentioned this, and this stuck out to me the most. He said how they started UFC was, and how they got the rankings together was, we take the top 15 guys, right? Not the top 15 guys, not the top. They take 15 random guys. They said, we're going to start this from scratch. We might have to start this from scratch. And the idea he has is starting it. They already reached out to fighters. Fighters, you know what I'm saying? Starting from 15. 15 fighters. They don't have to be the very best right now, whatever the case is. They already contacted some fighters, right? Where they're going to compete, in a tournament. A 15-fight tournament, I believe. Or not a 15-fight tournament, but a tournament that involved 15 fighters. And build it similar to how they did the Ultimate Fighter series. The Ultimate Fighter series for the UFC. Where they basically going to have these fighters fight each other. And then the top 5 that make it to that top 5, that's when the rankings going to start. These 15 fighters fight each other. The top 5 that make it out, that's what's going to be the best in the world. And then they compete for that lineal title. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty, I would say it's pretty, I'm not going to say scary, but sometimes change could be a little scary, but also good. I'm going to keep it 100. I'm like worried, but at the same time, I'm excited for this. Because I was excited when the first Ultimate Fighter came out. I was like, oh, this is something new. And I think this is something that we could need and use in the sport of boxing. And I love how someone like Dana White markets the UFC side of things. I think he does that great. He's fantastic at it. Of course, there's criticism. They don't really have... when it comes to sponsorships, I'm sure they're going to do this with TKO eventually, where fighters won't have their own sponsorships. They'll be sponsored. The sponsorships they'll have is the sponsorships that UFC have. So, for example, the UFC had a sponsorship with Reebok. So now all the fighters, they got to deal with Reebok. They get a little, side partnership deal with Reebok too, where they get paid for rocking their stuff, but only them. They can rock nobody else when it comes to coming out into the octagon. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure how that plays a role outside of, their fight week or their fight, build up, whatever the case is. But during that fight build up, you have to rock Reebok. Now I believe it's Venom, and now you have to rock Venom. All fighters have to rock Venom. You can't have no other, sponsorships in there, right? At least for branding purposes. So that might take place in TKO as well. But those are like some of the criticism that a lot of people may have, especially if you're competing at that level with the UFC. Other than that, though, when it comes to the appealness of the UFC, bro, is second to none. They have great appeal to make you want to tune in to every one of their events. You know what I mean? They have the best find the best on most occasions. Sometimes it don't happen that way. There's always going to be some type of politics that get in between, because a lot of times it has to do with hype too. Don't get me wrong. It does have a lot to do with hype. But at least with TKO, there won't be 4 sectioning bodies building these hypes. There'll just be one promotion. That promotion is also the sanctioning body, and will be running through the lineal title. I like this idea. I'm all for it, bro. And I think they gotta have the get down and lay down mentality. That's the type of Turkey. That's the type of mentality Turkey has. I think you have to have that type of mentality. I think that just we're at a time in boxing which it kind of sucks that I'm about to say this because I do believe boxers should have control of their own career as well. But it got to the point where boxers that really believed they had control of their own career let it slip out their fingers as well. In addition to that, it seemed like the sport in as a whole has decreased as far as the entertainment excitement behind it, where there's a lot of space and room for corruption. Turkey has his fair share with certain things too, like when he went to Shiraz's corner and started spilling the beans on the scorecards. I wasn't a big fan of that, but I hope that Dana White could, put him on and say, listen, that's unacceptable. One thing about Dana White is that he is very, a lot of these promotions, right? This is what I like about Dana White compared to a lot of boxing promotions. Boxing promotions will stick up for their fighter no matter what. In most occasions, 99.99% of the time, they're going to stick up for you no matter what, good or bad. Dana White's going to put your ass on blast. Dana White will put your ass on blast if you believe that you could get away with doing some goofy shit. You know what I'm saying? He's going to say in the press conference, he's going to say, that's the most retarded shit. I don't know why he did that. That was the stupidest thing he could ever done. Why would he do such a thing? I'm going to have a talk with him. I'm going to release him. Whatever the case is, he's going to let it be known he's very, he's very outspoken, Dana White. And what is on his mind, he's going to speak on when it has to do with his brand UFC. Because he got to protect that reputation at all costs. And I respect him for it. I think a lot of these other promoters from boxing lack that. And I think it's because they want to make sure that they keep their fighters. There's like I said, there's a lot of holes for corruption to take place in the sport of boxing. Now, the TKO's here. Let's see how this turns out. Let me know if you're excited for this. Do you see this being successful? It might not turn out so good in the beginning, so expect a lot of failures to take place in the beginning. That comes with the game, no matter what. But I could say in 5 years, this might be the new standard. And I do believe some promotion like MVP is going to be able to compete with them. Maybe they could do something together. Who knows? But these are going to be the promotions in boxing that's going to start taking over the boxing world. Let me know who you think is going to be involved in this. I got a few names off the top because obviously we got Shakur Stevenson. I think he's going to be a part of it. Teofimo Lopez is sweating the hell out of that lineal title, so I know he's going to be a part of it, in my opinion. Whoever, I think Bud Crawford is just on the rear end of it, so he might not even be able to, be so much a part of it. If he is, probably for like 1 year, it's going to end the career for him. Maybe utilize him to help promote it more. But, we're going to have a lot of people that's already involved with Turkey right now are going to, jump ship to go to TKO. And, now their contract's going to be like, you can't fight with no other promotion. Everything is in-house. You guys let me know who you think is going to be a part of that tournament. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. You already know what's up. We out. It's your one and only VIC SZN TV, the universal favorite. I'll be here when you get back because you already know that.
VIC SZN got that flavor.
Toma! Toma, boo. Yeah, we out, baby. All right, press the button.